Larry Brown is a better coach than Phil Jackson. And how do I know this? In 2004, they faced off against each other. And, of course, Phil Jackson had 2 of the top 5, arguably, players of all time, 2 of the top 10, at least, players of all time in their prime. And he got destroyed in 5 games by a team that was heavily underdogs. Nobody in the media had predicted that they would win. They were heavily just, again, a good collection of talent. And in hindsight, in retrospect, after they won that and after they made the finals next year, right, we would act like, oh, but they're so good, Chauncey and Tayshaun Prince and all of it, Rip Hamilton. But their legacy was set by that very win. So it would be sort of ex post facto justification to say that. It would be unfair. Oh, well, of course they won because they have these names that we now regard highly. But at that time and throughout their careers, they weren't perceived that way. They were good, solid players, but it was one of those, like, sum of its parts examples. When you look at that on paper, it doesn't guarantee that they'll win, especially not in that kind of dominant fashion. And so a lot of people are on the Lakers bandwagon. You have 2 of the top 10 players of all time. And so there's a few fallacies. People would say, well, Kobe and Shaq were feuding and they didn't like each other. But they didn't necessarily like each other the other years either, but they were still able to win 3 in a row. They didn't like each other when they made it to the finals that same year. So you were feuding, but it didn't stop you from making the finals. But now when you lose, you say, oh, it's because we were feuding. So I don't want to hear it at that point. And so that's part of Phil Jackson's job as a coach, to manage that. You have 2 of the top 10 players of all time in their prime on your team, but you still lose and get destroyed by a superior coach who had, again, an interesting collection of talent, but it wasn't a sure thing, right? There's no sure thing with that. We see, again, all those players pretty much never either made another finals again or they never won before or after. So the defining factor is Larry Brown, great coach, great defense, great, understanding of the game. So that came down to coaching because, again, on a surface level, you would look at Phil Jackson's team and say, oh, that's better. Or, I mean, you have the better stars, the better players. But to get out of those players on the Pistons what Larry Brown got out proves that he's better. Under that, I mean, reverse the roles then. Give Larry Brown a prime Shaq and a prime Kobe and see what would happen, right? And it's very credible to say that because, of course, Phil Jackson had won 3 with them. So the same team that could win 3, almost, the same team effectively that could win 3 in a row, right? Then you lose the one year, obviously 2003, but then you come back. That same team, effectively, with the 2 best players that could win 3 championships in a row, now all of a sudden, oh, it's not good enough, oh, we're feuding, oh, this or that. We have some excuse for it. I don't want to hear excuses when you've been so successful already. So the point is that, give Larry Brown, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. Give him Kobe and Shaq in their prime. Like, you gave him Allen Iverson, and there's always a fallacy with this. Oh, AI carried them to the finals. And offensively, he did. But if all it took to get to the finals, I'd say the same thing with LeBron, like on the Cavs the first time at least. Although, to be fair, LeBron almost did do this, what I'm about to say, later on when he made like 10 finals in a row or whatever, right? Like 9 finals maybe in a row. Like, oh, if all it took to make the finals was AI carrying you, then why didn't he make it every year of his career? Oh, wait, he only made it 1 year in his career, and that was with Larry Brown, with his great defensive coaching, with a team that wasn't the sexiest, but, they could rebound, they could defend. You had Mutombo, you had, perimeter defender, Eric Snow. Like, it might not seem like much. People make fun, but it's just not sexy. We don't have the big, sexy offensive names, but there was something about that team, again, not the most talented, but Larry Brown got the most out of it, especially on defense. So this is a similar process. So 2004, it was a good team, but there was no guarantee whatsoever, right, that they would win. And so his brilliance in coaching and defense and everything like that is what allowed you to win. And so that then shows you the bigger picture, which is, again, you have 2 of the top 10 players in their prime, you have a team that's already been successful, and you get destroyed by a superior coach with a nice little cast of talent, but we only look at it that way. Again, a lot of those other players didn't have success outside of that, before or after, didn't make it to finals, just like, again, AI situation. They didn't win titles, outside of that. I think Rasheed Wallace might have won one with the Celtics, I forget. But, or he might have been on the team that lost in 2010, I can't remember. But basically, they didn't have a lot of success. So the defining factor is, oh, Larry Brown gives AI his only finals run ever. Again, not diminishing that AI did a great job on offense carrying them. That was his job, of course, but he gave him the other pieces that he needed, the defense, the rebounding, the understanding, getting the most out of the other players for what they were. And again, the same thing in 04, 05, that you took a good cast, but you made it a lot better, right? The sum of its parts was greater than them individually, so that allows you to understand that he was clearly a defining factor. So what better way to show that? Give me 2 of the top 10 players of all time in their prime versus a cast of good players, and you will absolutely show who the better coach is.